I woke up to a dozen missed calls from people I barely spoke to anymore, and at first I thought something terrible had happened. But when I opened my phone, what I saw felt worse than any tragedy. I was staring at a photo of my entire family smiling at my brother's wedding, my mother beaming in her glittering gown, my father proudly holding my brother's arm, guests cheering in the background. And there, at the edge of the photo, was my cousin's caption, "Such a perfect family moment, wouldn't miss it for the world." Except I had missed it, because no one invited me. I scrolled further, my chest tightening with every picture I saw. My brother, the golden child, tying the knot under cascading flowers and soft lights. My parents, laughing and clinking glasses with relatives I hadn't seen in years. Friends, acquaintances, even distant cousins who lived states away had been there. Everyone. Except me. Please subscribe to our channel and tell us in comments from where are you watching this video. I called my mother, my hands shaking so hard I nearly dropped the phone. She answered with that syrupy voice she used when she wanted to sound like a saint. "Sweetheart, are you feeling any better?" she said, as if she'd been waiting for me to call. "Better?" I asked, my voice cracking. "Better from what?" "Oh, honey," she said, sighing like I was being dramatic again. "We told everyone you weren't well enough to come. You wouldn't want to faint in the middle of your brother's big day, would you? It was for the best." "For the best?" My throat burned, not from sickness, but from rage I couldn't contain. "You planned an entire wedding. You sent invitations across the country. You had months to tell me. And you lied to everyone that I was too sick to be there?" My father's voice joined in the background, rough and dismissive. "You'd only make a scene. It was better this way." My mother clicked her tongue like I was a child throwing a tantrum. "Don't ruin his happiness, all right? Be a good sister for once." Then the line went dead. I sat there frozen, staring at my reflection in the black screen of my phone. My parents had always found ways to make me feel small, to push me aside when it suited them. When my brother graduated, I was told to stay home so he could have his moment. When I got sick once as a kid, they left me at a neighbor's house so they wouldn't miss his soccer game. But this was different. This wasn't about forgetting me. This was about erasing me entirely, rewriting reality to make it look like they had a perfect family, one where I didn't even exist. That night, I lay awake staring at the ceiling, my heart hollow and burning all at once. I thought about all the years I'd been invisible to them, how every holiday, every milestone, every celebration somehow belonged to my brother, while I was expected to disappear quietly in the background. But this time, they didn't just push me aside. They slammed the door shut and locked it, then told everyone it was my choice. And something in me snapped. I didn't want their seat at the table anymore. I didn't want their scraps of affection or their fake apologies, but I wasn't going to let them keep their fairy tale either. That wedding was their pride, their perfect story to tell for years to come, the moment they thought would live forever as proof of their wonderful family. I decided that night that if they wanted a world where I didn't exist, I'd give them one. But not the way they imagined. The next morning, I looked at every photo again, memorizing every smile, every guest, every little detail they worked so hard to make flawless. They thought they had built a memory that would shine forever, but I knew how to sink it so deep in regret that they'd choke on it every time they tried to relive it. And this time, I wouldn't be the one left out. I would be the shadow in their perfect memory, the one thing they couldn't erase no matter how hard they tried. The following week felt like I was living underwater, every breath heavy, every thought dragging me down deeper. My phone kept lighting up with more posts, more photos of that wedding, more proof that my entire family had gathered under glittering chandeliers and soft music, while I sat in silence 100 miles away. My parents didn't just forget me. They erased me, rewrote the story of our family without me in it, and they expected me to accept it like I always had before. But this time, I wasn't staying silent. I wasn't going to cry in my apartment and let their lie become truth. I wanted them to feel something worse than guilt. I wanted them to feel the one thing they had forced on me my whole life, unwanted, powerless, invisible, and I knew exactly how to do it, not with a screaming fight, not by begging them for answers, but by sinking their perfect celebration into a memory they'd spend the rest of their lives wishing they could forget. The first thing I did was gather everything they'd ever used against me, every text, every voicemail where my mother had called me an embarrassment, every email where my father had told me to stay out of sight so we can have peace. I printed it all out and stared at the pile of paper like it was the evidence of a crime scene. My life had been one long, quiet crime they committed in daylight, smiling in front of others, while keeping me in the shadows. Then I started reaching out, not to strangers, not to random people online, but to the guests who had been there, the people who hugged my parents that night, believing their fairy tale of a tight-knit family. One by one, I called, texted, messaged them, and one by one, I told the truth. Not just about the wedding, but about every year they had made me disappear. I didn't rant, I didn't yell. I simply told them the facts, laid out the proof, showed them the daughter my parents had been erasing long before that wedding. And the reaction was exactly what I wanted: shock, anger, disbelief. Slowly, the whispers started spreading, louder and louder until they reached every corner of my family tree, every circle my parents bragged in. Suddenly, their perfect celebration wasn't just a wedding anymore. It was the night everyone started asking, where was she? Why wasn't she there? What else have they been hiding? But that wasn't enough. My parents were used to lies unraveling. They were good at spinning new ones. I wanted something they couldn't talk their way out of, something that would stain the memory of that wedding forever, make it impossible for them to look at their beautiful photos without choking on the truth they'd buried. So I planned my next move. My brother and his new wife were having another event soon, a post-wedding dinner to celebrate with people who couldn't attend the ceremony. My parents had already been telling everyone I'd be there this time, painting me as the fragile daughter finally recovered, hoping to rewrite the narrative and save face. I said nothing. I let them believe I'd come crawling back for a seat at their table. But I wasn't coming to sit quietly. I was coming to take away the very thing they cared about most, their fantasy of being a proud, flawless family in front of an adoring crowd. I made a reservation of my own at the same venue days before the event. I spoke to the manager, the decorators, the staff. Money wasn't an issue. I'd been saving for years. Not because I wanted luxury, but because I had always known someday I'd need power they couldn't strip from me. I had one simple request, a centerpiece that couldn't be ignored. When the evening came, my parents walked into that glittering banquet hall holding their heads high, expecting another night of admiration. But the moment they stepped inside, their smiles faltered. Right at the head table, under the glowing lights where their proudest moment was meant to be celebrated, sat a single, empty chair. My name was etched on a gleaming gold place card surrounded by flowers, lit by its own spotlight. And on every screen in the hall, instead of a slideshow of wedding pictures, there were photos of me from birthdays and holidays long past, events where I had been missing, forgotten, erased. The guests went silent. My parents froze, panic flashing in their eyes as everyone stared at the empty seat and then at them. The room seemed to hold its breath as whispers spread like wildfire. Why wasn't she there? Why was she erased from every celebration? My parents tried to speak, to laugh it off, to change the subject, but no one listened. The fairy tale they'd spent a lifetime writing had shattered in a single night. The truth wasn't screamed or argued. It sat there quietly, impossible to deny, painted in absence and silence. I never entered the room. I didn't have to. My revenge wasn't about showing up to beg for space. It was about making them live forever with the hollow seat they'd left for me, making their proudest memory rot into regret they could never rewrite. Every time they think of that wedding now, they don't remember joy or love. They remember the empty chair, the haunting truth that they built their celebration on erasing their own daughter, and that emptiness will follow them forever. That was the night I finally stopped being invisible. I didn't need their acceptance or their love. I gave them what they had given me all my life, an empty space where family should have been, and it shattered everything they thought they could keep perfect. After that night, nothing was the same for my parents. What they thought would be another glittering evening of admiration turned into a scene they couldn't erase from anyone's memory. The empty seat, the photos of every event they had erased me from, the silence that fell over the room, it all burned deeper than any words I could have spoken. Their perfect reputation, their proudest celebration, had been hollowed out in one night, just like they had hollowed me out my entire life. In the days that followed, calls poured in. Not to me, but to them. Relatives demanding answers, friends asking why they would lie, whispers swirling through every corner of the family tree. My parents, who had spent years wearing masks of perfection, couldn't patch the cracks anymore. Every excuse they made sounded weaker than the last. People they'd bragged to for years stopped answering their calls. Invitations stopped coming. The golden family image they clung to shattered completely, leaving them exactly as they had once left me, alone. But the real revenge wasn't in what others thought of them. It was in what they were left with inside their own home. Every time they looked at the photos from my brother's wedding, the once perfect images felt poisoned. They could see what everyone else now saw. Not love, not unity, but the daughter-shaped hole they had dug and tried to bury. Every toast they made that night, every false smile, every moment they had claimed as family pride, was now a reminder of their cruelty. Weeks later, I heard from my brother's wife. She had reached out quietly, her voice shaking as she apologized for what happened. She confessed she had begged my parents to invite me, but was told I would ruin the atmosphere. Now, she couldn't stand to look at the wedding photos. "It doesn't feel like my day anymore," she admitted. "It feels like their lie." That was exactly what I wanted, not to hurt her, but to make the truth impossible to hide, impossible to celebrate over. Months passed, and my parents made one last attempt to reach me. A letter, handwritten, trembling words on paper that smelled like guilt. They didn't apologize. They didn't admit what they'd done. They just begged me to let it go, to come back home, and stop making a spectacle of their mistakes. I didn't respond. I didn't need to. The empty seat had said everything I needed it to. Their life now looked like mine had for decades, isolated, silent, stripped of connection. The difference was, I had learned to build something real beyond them, a life where I was wanted, seen, loved by people who chose me. They were left with only the echo of their choices, trapped in the house where every upcoming holiday or family moment would have a chair they couldn't fill, a permanent reminder that they had thrown their daughter away and couldn't buy her back with excuses. I stopped checking their social media eventually because I didn't need to see the downfall anymore. The revenge wasn't about destroying them in the eyes of others. It was about giving them the same emptiness they forced on me all my life. They took me out of every celebration, made me feel like my existence ruined their happiness, and now they lived every day with the knowledge that the celebration they were most proud of was the one that proved what they really were, parents who chose perfection over their own child. And every year when the anniversary of that wedding comes around, they won't toast to love or family anymore. They'll sit in silence, staring at the photo album that no longer shines, haunted by the image of that empty seat, knowing that it will follow them forever. I didn't just sink their celebration that night. I turned it into a memory they'll never stop drowning in. Please subscribe to our channel and tell us in comments from where are you watching this video.